How should I screen tenants for my Austin rental property? Hey everybody, it's Jonathan Sempsrott here with Keyrenter Property Management, located here in Austin, Texas. This question is one that we hear many times from our clients as they are thinking about screening a tenant to make sure that you get a really great match, someone that meets all the criteria, all the qualifications for this specific rental property. What I can tell you is this: we've been in operation for about 10 years now here in Austin. Screening a tenant really matters. It really matters. I would say it's perhaps one of the secret sauces, if you will, that we operate by. And we've just found a ton of success around the idea of how you screen a tenant. Let me also say that it is very important that we, certainly as a professional manager, but also you as an individual, if you're doing this on your own, that you operate by fair housing laws and guidelines. It is critically important that you are screening and treating tenants in a very fair and uniform manner, and that people are not being screened in different ways and practices, but there's a uniform policy, uniform procedures when it comes to screening a tenant. With that said, once you develop that uniform policy, how you apply that is extremely important. We have seen in the industry eviction rates go up over time, and sort of this idea of maybe almost automated screening practices happening. And even this idea that screening sometimes doesn't even really matter that much, right? We're here to say that that is definitely not the case. And we believe that it is extremely important for your success in finding a great tenant, keeping a great tenant in place, and just frankly having a really great rental investment experience comes down to this, right? How you're screening your tenants. And so in our case, for example, our eviction rate is very low. We currently at this moment of recording this video, manage about 780 homes across the Austin area. And of those 780, we typically do about one eviction per year. And we often get asked, like, how is it that low? Like, how is it that you're not, how are the odds that low that you're not doing more evictions, that you're not having to send a tenant outbound for whatever reason? And my answer is always this right here, we're talking about today, that screening really matters. My opinion is if you do a great job on the front end and doing your homework, doing your due diligence to make sure that you're examining the tenant that's being presented to you that wants to rent this property, you're doing a great job on that front end, it's going to yield great results on the back end as well over the long term. Conversely, if you skip those steps and take some shortcuts, take the easy route, and maybe don't have as thorough or as in-depth of a screening process, then it's likely, or at least possible, to end badly. And so in our case, we look at over 14 different touch points throughout the tenant's life cycle as they're applying with us, just to make sure that they meet all of our criteria, all of our qualifications, things that you might expect, right? Credit history, criminal background check, doing a deep dive on that to make sure that you're renting to someone that doesn't have any kind of violations that don't go against your own screening policy. Looking at residential history, sort of looking back over a series of years where this resident has lived previously and determining what that history has been like. What was payment history like each month? How many late pays did they have? Any complaints or violations of the lease that was on the record? Again, looking through a kind of comprehensive history of what that rental path has been like over the past. Also asking questions like, about former landlords, if you had the opportunity to rent to this person again, would you say yes? Things like that, and trying to just get a really good read on the history is really important. Again, lots of things like that it's too long to go into on this short video, but I wanted to at least give you a taste of some of these topics and how it works. The other item we do a very deep dive on that I would say is perhaps the most important item to really get right. That's income verification. Not just taking someone's word that they earn a certain amount of money every single month, but actually verifying that. You've all heard the saying, right? Trust, but verify. We certainly live by that. We want to make sure that what's being reported to us in terms of income profile, that's actually real and current. So in our case, we take several manual steps. Obviously, a lot of screening work can be done in an automated fashion, right? Whether it's running a credit report, things that are coming back from different database systems. Those are things you can do, frankly, as even a DIY landlord. You can pay for some of those services and get those reports back. But a couple of the things that are very manual, very labor intensive, and frankly not very fun to do are these things that I'm mentioning now, which are income verification and also rental history verification would be in that same bucket. A very manual process. There's really no shortcut to figuring out, speaking with a current employer, let's say, to verify that income amount is actually real. So I would encourage you to do the same as you're thinking about screening a tenant, making sure that you don't skip those really important things. Don't take just pay stubs and assume that they're correct, because, and I'll go into this a little bit more detail here, rental fraud is definitely on the rise. I may have read about some of this in various news stories, but we can attest this is true. Whether it's ID fraud, where someone's presenting as a different person than they actually are, that happens, especially in our electronic age where we're applying online for a property. Maybe we're not meeting that person face to face for whatever reason. So that's something that we see in our industry on the rise for sure, is ID fraud. Then also employment fraud, where you've got someone who is reporting to be employed at a certain company, earning a certain amount of money every month, but that's just not real, right? And they can even present pay stubs that look very legitimate. If you Google this, you can find it, right? Unfortunately, there are paid services where you can go online and services will create pay stubs for you that look legit, show all the withholdings, they show the company information correctly, and you can basically manufacture this fraud for a fee. And so it takes a good bit of sophistication and technology, frankly, to be able to run those things through a system, and it can pick up on different anomalies that maybe are not correct, right? They give you a little bit of a yellow flag or even a red flag saying this might be a fraud. So maybe dig a little bit deeper and see what's going on here. We've had a couple of folks, this has been maybe a year or two back, where we started to see a pool of applicants for different properties. They were coming in all reporting to work for a certain company, and taken on a standalone basis, it looked pretty normal, looked approvable, but we started seeing them coming in for multiple properties, all reporting to work for the same organization. And the reports had a few other things that looked a little bit odd about them. And as we sort of dug through the layers of that and figured out, wait a minute, what's actually happening here? This looks a little bit strange. We begin to realize that this was indeed a fraud, kind of on a fairly wide scale. And where they all originated from, I don't know, but someone was planning a systematic way to sort of defraud multiple rental applications. And so we were able to avoid that, to pull back and deny those applications based on those fraudulent findings. But again, my encouragement to you would be, don't skip that manual work. It is a ton of time and energy and kind of exhausting. And you ask yourself, is this a waste of time? And I'm here to tell you that it's not a waste of time. It definitely is worth it. It's going to save you a lot of headaches in the future if you're verifying and renting to someone who truly can afford the home, has great rental history from the past, a history of making payments on time without lease violations. That's going to put you on the path of success. And so would encourage you to do that. Hopefully you found a few things in here that have been helpful as part of this video. If so, please like this video and subscribe to our video channel. We'd love to stay in touch with you over time. Hopefully you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.